This Annabelle doll story is getting juicy. And the story was already wild enough as is. I mean, look at the headlines. Paranormal investigator found dead while on tour with haunted doll. It's one of those stories that makes you do a double take, like, wait, what happened? But folks, it gets even weirder. It gets even crazier. Now, for those of you all who might not know, there was a paranormal investigator by the name of Dan Rivera that recently took the haunted Annabelle doll on tour. Well, while on tour with this doll, the same night that he had a show with Annabelle, somehow, some way, he dies in his hotel room. His body was found the next day. At the time of this recording, we still don't know what happened to him. He was in perfect health at the Annabelle show just earlier that day that he died. And police say there were no signs of foul play. So there's a big mystery surrounding his death. And of course, everyone is talking about the fact that he was on tour with this haunted, demonic doll. Now, several different paranormal investigators have weighed in on this story. Most of the paranormal investigators that are not tied to this tour at all are saying that the tour is a bad idea. That Annabelle has a lot of negative demonic energies that can rub off on people and cause them harm and all types of other crazy, weird things that you don't even want to imagine. But then there are other paranormal investigators, some who were on this tour with Dan, that are telling people that they should stop tying Dan's death to the doll and that they should still come out to the tour because that is what Dan would have wanted. They are still selling tickets. They refuse to cancel the tour. They want everyone to come see this haunted doll that some people believe is responsible for Dan's death. Well, I've been watching all of this play out. And like I keep telling you guys, I've been telling you all since day one of this story, I'm not here to convince you that Dan's death is tied to the Annabelle doll. But I think we can all acknowledge that it's kind of weird, right? It's a weird story. Now, for those of you all who aren't familiar with Dan Rivera, apparently people view him as the guy that was carrying on Ed and Lorraine Warren's legacy. Ed and Lorraine Warren are some of the most famous paranormal investigators of all time. They made a movie franchise based on their investigations. The Conjuring movies are based on Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Annabelle movie is based on the doll that was involved in one of their paranormal investigations. Now, Dan, most people view him as the guy who is carrying on their legacy, keeping their stories alive, traveling around, teaching people about Ed and Lorraine Warren, teaching people about the haunted objects they had in their possession. However, Ed and Lorraine Warren also have kids, okay? And they also have grandkids. While Dan Rivera is the man that is viewed as being the person that is carrying on their legacy, Dan Rivera is not related to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Well, I didn't know this until just yesterday. And I knew about the Annabelle doll tour since the beginning. I reported on the Annabelle doll tour months ago, well before Dan Rivera died. I didn't know this at the time. I know this now, but it turns out that Ed and Lorraine Warren's grandson has been out here warning people about this tour since the beginning of this tour, or even before the tour ever began. He was telling people not to go to this tour, that this tour was not a good idea because people would get hurt. Mind you, he was putting out these warnings on social media before Dan Rivera died. Months ago, he was putting out these warnings, and no one listened. In fact, other members of Ed and Lorraine Warren's family, they have kind of shunned this grandson. They are at odds with this grandson because they wanted the tour to happen, because they are making money off the tour. The grandson, however, is like, hey, I don't care about the money. I take this very seriously. My grandparents gave very specific warnings not to move this doll around, not to take the doll out of the case. Yet people have not respected those warnings. Instead, they're taking this doll around all willy-nilly, and something bad is going to happen. Well, now some bad things have happened. And now people are looking at Ed and Lorraine's grandson like, hey, maybe what he was saying isn't so crazy. And for the life of me, I don't understand people's thought process when it comes to the Annabelle doll. I would assume that if you're paying money to go see the Annabelle doll, then you most likely believe in hauntings and the supernatural and demonic possessions and all of that, right? So if you believe in that stuff, then you should believe that the Annabelle doll is kind of dangerous. Therefore, you shouldn't want anything to do with the Annabelle doll. Well, people think the way they think. I don't understand people. I'll never be able to understand people. But it is what it is. People are paying money to willingly go expose themselves to this doll, thinking that it's cute, thinking that it's cool. Meanwhile, the grandson of this doll's keepers, if you will, safekeepers, if you will, is trying to tell people like, hey, you might die. Something bad is going to happen if you keep messing around with this doll. Crazy, crazy stuff. Let me go ahead and read you all one of their grandson's social media posts. This guy's name is Chris McKinnell. Here he says right here, my grandmother, Lorraine Warren, never wanted Annabelle on tour. In her final years, she allowed a few visitors in her home. When zoning laws changed, she permitted brief museum displays just 1 mile away from home. That was not permission to take Annabelle on a national tour. Now they are letting people touch her case. They aren't using safeguards. And they are claiming that this is what my grandparents would have wanted. It is not. My grandfather's warning still stands. Positively, do not open. If they keep doing this without understanding what they are handling, someone is going to get seriously hurt. Folks, when I read this post, I got goosebumps. The hairs started standing up on my arm reading this. Because it's crazy that this warning, this post came out well before Dan Rivera died. This post came out before plantations and stuff started burning down wherever they took the Annabelle doll. He told people, someone's going to get seriously hurt. And you see, the people who are taking this doll on tour, they're all telling everyone, hey, it's A-okay. This is what Ed and Lorraine Warren wanted. They wanted people to know about the doll, yada, yada, yada. No. They literally kept the doll in their house. They would put holy water on the doll. They would have a priest come over and pray over the doll periodically. They took it very seriously. When Lorraine was getting older, near death, she did allow a few select people to come see the doll at her house. She would allow the doll to be taken to the museum about 1 mile away. She wouldn't let it go far because she knew, or at least she felt she knew, how dangerous the doll was. The Annabelle doll, I know some people will view it as a stupid little horror story, But it's something that these people took very, very seriously. And I don't know what happened, but after Lorraine died, these people who were tasked with carrying on the legacy of Ed and Lorraine decided that they were going to ditch all of the warnings that Ed and Lorraine issued. And now we're at this point where the lead guy in this tour is dead. So Chris has been putting out these warnings for months, but there's not much he can do about the situation. He does not own the Annabelle doll. Other members of Ed and Lorraine Warren's family own the doll. And they have, like I said, they have cut communication with him. They have cut all ties with him because they got really angry when he started trying to warn people not to go to the tour, that the tour was dangerous. They got really angry and they basically just stopped talking to him altogether because they were more interested in making money off the tour than they were protecting people from this demonic doll. Obviously, they did not take the situation too seriously. Now, here's where things really get scary for me. It's scary because the warnings were already here. As someone who was supposed to carry on Ed and Lorraine Warren's legacy, these people are supposed to know more about Annabelle and these hauntings than anyone else. They are literal paranormal investigators, yet they decided to do this dumb nonsense and take this doll on tour. These are the people that take this stuff more seriously than anyone. They are supposed to be more knowledgeable about the dangers that these haunted objects could cause or pose to people more than anyone. Yet they're exposing the masses to these haunted demonic objects. Just, oh, you got $15? Come on, come expose yourself to demonic forces. So that's scary in itself. But what's scarier to me, and what I've been thinking about these past couple of days, is that this tour is not going to stop. They've already said it. They have no intentions on stopping this tour. And it's scary to me because now that Dan has died, this tour is getting all of this publicity. Everyone's talking about Annabelle. Everyone is talking about this tour. And now I suspect that instead of people getting freaked out and shying away from going to see Annabelle, I think that even more people are going to want to go to this tour. I think that now that Dan Rivera has died, that even more people are going to be interested in Annabelle. And, people are crazy. We don't understand how they think. Even more people are going to want to go expose themselves to this doll. And the crazy, scary part is, hundreds and hundreds of people go and see this doll. And we have no idea what happens to them after the show. For all we know, there could be people dying in freak accidents and all types of stuff that have gone to this Annabelle doll show that we don't know of. Yeah, we know that it's been on tour. We know the cities that it's going to. But out of the hundreds of people that attend every event, we don't know how many of them are having problems with hauntings at their home now. We don't know how many of them have gotten in freak accidents since then. We don't know how many of them are dealing with all of this negative energy since seeing the doll. So it's kind of scary. People could go see the Annabelle doll and then the next week they could die in a freak accident and no one's going to know to try to tie the two together. And now the tour is going to continue after Dan's death, despite the warnings. And warnings are one thing, but, when do you learn? You didn't listen to this guy's warnings. You didn't listen to other paranormal investigators' warnings. Well, now Dan is dead. Maybe that should be your big warning. If you didn't want to hear what anyone else has to say, look at the fact that the main man in charge of this tour has now died while on the tour. Just out of nowhere. 1 minute, he's at the show showing off Annabelle, goes back to his hotel room, and no one knows what happened after that. But the warnings are going to continue to be ignored. because that money is rolling in, and that's what's more important to these people. They say money is the root of all evil, and these people are dead set on making money from touring this demonic haunted doll, despite what may be happening to the people that come in contact with it. As Chris McKinnell said, they're allowing people to come and touch on Annabelle's case. I've seen personally Dan Rivera handling the Annabelle doll, taking the doll out of its case. So, I guess sometimes people are just going to have to find out the hard way. You know, in every horror movie, you got that person that's curious, and you got that person that doesn't want any parts of it. I'm the person, I don't want any parts of it. Oh, you heard some weird noises coming from that room? Well, let's get out of the house. Unfortunately, though, we're surrounded by a lot of people who are the exact opposite. What's that weird noise? Jinkies, we better go investigate. You know what I mean? Always get themselves in some crazy nonsense in the horror movies. It turns out that's not just the movies. That's how people are in real life. So don't allow curiosity to kill the cat. I'm sure the Annabelle doll is fascinating and it's cool, but it's not cool enough to risk whatever the hell you may be risking by coming in contact with it. I'll just say that. But something tells me we haven't heard the last of this story. I guarantee you there's more. And I'll be looking into it, and I'll let you know about that in the future. But for now, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.